I've called this the Great Indian FinTech Challenge, and I'll talk about some of the work we are doing there. But broadly, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is general to the market, and would love to get some questions from you all as well. So believe it or not, FinTech is actually in dictionary.com, which was a surprise to me. I'm not necessarily sure I agree with the definition, but fundamentally it is to use technology to make financial services more accessible and viable for people. This chart here, which showed the homepage of Wells Fargo Bank and every single product of the bank being done by multiple startups in a better and superior way, is probably the one slide or one image that is, that went around the world about 3 years ago, and that's when really the term FinTech started becoming a serious term. Now, if you look at India, for better or for worse, if you look at the, unless you took the metro today, which is awesome is what I've been told, physically, infrastructure is lagging like you wouldn't believe, right? I don't think we need to walk more than 100 feet on the road and then you'll figure that out. And unfortunately, as much as the government attempts to change that and improve it, in our lifetime, it's not really, certainly in my lifetime, it's not going to get a lot better. But in the digital infrastructure, we have an enviable, opportunity here in India, something that is the envy of the whole world. So I was privileged enough to work with Nandan on the Aadhaar team, along with Bala, who mentioned that earlier as well. And a few of us, private sector volunteers, worked on Aadhaar and helped define a very open platform for India. And subsequently, it turned from authentication to eKYC to e-sign to unified payment interface, the DigiLocker, and most recently the consent framework. And this is a platform like no other in the world. Open architecture, API based, and sets the opportunity for third-party startups as well as large companies to get truly digital. Add to that is GSTN and Bharat Bill payment system, which are coming out. So GST essentially means that 8 million businesses are going to put 3 invoices a month into the GST system. You're suddenly going to have a plethora of data, as Mr. Amitabh Kant talked about. Same thing is true with the Bharat Bill Pay. And then you have, of course, real-time payments with UPI, which last month just did 150 million transactions. I think they deserve a big applause. It's less than a year. And UPI now connects 650 million bank accounts. Right? So these are the numbers we're talking about. So the other big thing that's happening here is why FinTech is very interesting is, in addition to this very unique framework that we have got in India, which you can broadly call Aadhaar India Stack, and then the additional digitization efforts of the government, we also now have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Credit Suisse, I'm not one to talk a lot about numbers, I'd always like to keep it qualitative, but Credit Suisse claims and has published a report where they claim that the new market cap that's going to be created in the next 9 years, this is a 2016 report, is going to be $600 billion, right? Why is it difficult? Why is it a big opportunity? Is because it's fundamentally you're solving very difficult problems. In financial services, it's very hard to launch a product because you have to do a lot of things right. You have to build technology, you have to get it approved, you have to get it certified, it has to meet all the regulatory hurdles, it has to meet all the constraints. But if you can pull that off, then there is gold on the other side. And so that's where the opportunity is so compelling. Thirdly, we have a unique opportunity in India because, as the gentleman, Mr. Amit from Yes Bank said earlier, and what we're seeing with the regulators, there is a desire to actually bring everybody into the system and through digital means. And that's the only way it's going to work. So all this says that we have sort of a perfect storm brewing on the opportunity side as well as the intent side. What's also happened is with India Stack and with mobile internet and smartphone penetration, India today is Google's largest market in terms of unique users. It's not the US, and of course they're not present in China. We have 350 million smartphone users in India, most of them on Android, and that makes it larger than the US itself. So the opportunity here in India is bar none. The platform and infrastructure that we have got is state of the art, and the problem of space is tough. So it is possible to build a large company because if you pull it off, it's not that easy to be copied and cloned, right? And that is a very, very fundamental point. And this applies to regardless of whether you're a fintech entrepreneur or whether you're just an entrepreneur. How do you build moats in your business and make your business sustainable? Fintech, the barriers are definitely high, and that's why it makes it very exciting. This is, again, talking from an investor perspective. However, it is not easy, right? And I think we talked about that. It does take a significant amount of domain knowledge. It does take a lot of relationships. You're going to a bank and saying, I'm going to create a savings product on your top of your platform. I will follow your KYC norms. I will bring the customers in, manage the data security, data privacy, etc. It is a lot for a bank to trust a startup coming in. And so it's important to try to work with people that have the right relationships and rapport so that you can fast track that, right? Instead of spending 2 years to prove yourself, can you partner with someone who has the relationships and reputation so that you can get there faster? There have to be certain best practices and approaches. I'll tell you what ours are. Are you going to be a regulated entity? Are you going to be partnering and be more of a technology entity? Are you a customer-facing brand, or are you going to be a technology vendor? These are all very important decisions you need to make very early on in your business. And you need to have a lot of patience, not just you. I think we as investors who work in the fintech space have got to be extremely patient, because these things will take time, and certain things can only be moved at a certain pace. There's no, if you're in the lending business, you don't want to scale it very fast, right? So bottom line is, banks are tough to work with, but you can't work without them either. And if you can cross the barriers that they have, they are actually great partners after a certain point. So it's important, however, here that you have to prove yourself or work with people that know how to do that. However, if you can structure things right, actually you can build an amazing business here in partnership with banks. There's always this talk of, oh, fintechs are going to destroy the banks, fintechs are going to do this to the banks. I think that is never going to work. The only way this is going to work is in partnership. And by banks, it could be an NBFC, but it's really the regulated bodies working in partnership with the startups. That's where the win-win is going to be. And it also means that you can't just say, I built a better mousetrap. You have to build some application which has got a lot of completeness and uniqueness about it, so that the bank sees you as a partner. If you're just saying, I'll build a better mobile app that's going to do payments better than you can do, 6 months later, the bank can definitely repeat what you've done. So you have to build a lot of sophistication in the domain and customer, with domain and customer awareness. So one of the examples I'll very quickly give you, Bala talked about MoneyTab, which is one of our portfolio companies. We have Afford Plan as an example, which is also interesting because these guys are at the intersection of healthcare and financial services. So it's not going to be very easy for the bank to understand half their business because there's a healthcare element to it. It's not going to be easy for a healthcare guy to understand it because there's a financial services element to it. We have Happy, which is another portfolio company of ours, doing the same thing about business expenses. Their IP is in the fact that they have an integrated product. It's not just that banks have corporate cards. Banks don't necessarily have the platform for doing business expenses. The same way a company that just does the business expense management solution does not have the banking product, right? So it's important to combine and build in some more sophistication so that you can target a customer base which is large enough, where there are large profit pools, and you're bringing expertise that augments the banking side and augments the business that you're targeting as well.